Have you ever trusted someone with all your heart, only to have them turn against you? Imagine this: you have a sister, someone you've always loved and trusted. You share everything with her, and you think nothing can ever come between you. But then, one day, she does something that changes everything. She makes you look like the bad guy in front of your own mom. That's exactly what happened to me. For years, I trusted my sister with all my secrets, my feelings, and my thoughts. I never thought she would ever hurt me. But little did I know, things were about to change in a way I never expected. My sister, someone I thought I could always count on, twisted everything around, and suddenly I found myself being blamed for things I didn't do. The worst part? My mom started to believe her. It felt like the world had turned upside down. I was the villain in my own family's eyes. I tried to explain, tried to make my mom see the truth, but nothing worked. It was as if my sister's lies had taken over everything. I end this story. I'll take you through everything that happened, from the betrayal to the painful aftermath, and finally, how I decided I couldn't let it go any longer. I had to show my sister the truth, no matter the cost. Stick around to find out how I went from being the villain in my mother's eyes to someone who was ready to reveal who the real villain was. You won't want to miss this journey of betrayal, family drama, and the fight to take back control. The family dynamic. I've always believed that family is everything. My sister and I were more than just siblings. We were best friends. We would spend hours talking about our dreams, our favorite movies, and even the little things that happened during the day. She was the person I trusted most, and I thought the feeling was mutual. We laughed together, cried together, and supported each other through everything. My mom was the heart of our family. She was always there, listening to us, guiding us, and making sure we felt loved. It was her love that kept our family so close. She always taught us to value each other, to never keep secrets from one another, and to always be honest. Those were the rules in our home, and we followed them. I remember the mornings when my sister and I would sit together at the breakfast table eating cereal and talking about school. Mom would join us after a while, and we'd all chat about our plans for the day. It was a peaceful, happy time. Even when things weren't going perfectly in the world, our little family felt like everything we needed. One of my favorite memories was when we went on family trips. We'd pack up the car with snacks, play music, and drive to new places. My sister and I would argue over who gets the window seat, and Mom would always laugh, telling us we both needed to learn to share. The laughter, the talks, the shared moments, those are the things I thought would always be a part of my life. It wasn't just during special moments that we showed love for each other. At night, before bed, my sister and I would always talk about our day. She'd tell me about the things that made her happy or sad, and I'd do the same. And if something went wrong, like a fight with a friend or a bad test grade, Mom was there to listen and make everything better. It felt like we were a team, always sticking together no matter what. But looking back, there were tiny little moments that now make me wonder if something was starting to change. Sometimes when my sister and I would be talking, I'd notice that she'd act a little differently when Mom was around. It was like she wanted to make sure she was seen as the perfect child. She'd tell Mom how well she was doing in school or how she helped with something at home, even if it wasn't true. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just thought she was being a little extra to get Mom's attention. But now I wonder if that was the first sign that things were starting to shift. And then there were moments when Mom would be talking to me and I'd catch my sister watching us closely. It wasn't just a look of love, it felt like she was studying us, making sure I wasn't getting too much attention. Again, I brushed it off, thinking it was just normal sibling rivalry. But those little things that seemed so small at the time now seem like the first hints of what was to come. Still, even with those little hints, everything felt fine. We were a family and nothing could break us. We had our ups and downs, like any family, but nothing ever felt serious enough to cause a real problem. Little did I know, this peaceful world I thought we had would soon fall apart, and it would be my sister who started the storm. It all started with something small, something I didn't think would ever be a big deal. But looking back, I realized that small thing was the start of everything falling apart. One afternoon, Mom was getting ready to go out. She was rushing, trying to get everything ready for her meeting. I was in the kitchen finishing up some homework and my sister was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone. Mom came into the kitchen to grab her keys and asked me to do something simple, just put the milk back in the fridge after I was done with it. I didn't think much of it. It was a regular task, but then something unexpected happened. My sister suddenly stood up and said, "Mom, I told your name to do that already, and she didn't." I looked at her, surprised. I hadn't heard her say anything about it. She was the one sitting on the couch, not helping out. But I didn't say anything, I just let it go. Mom didn't question it at first, but I could see her face change. The next few days felt weird. My sister would make little comments, things that made me look bad in front of Mom. She'd say things like, "Mom, did you know that your name didn't do what you asked her to do the other day?" Or, "She's been acting a little distant lately, don't you think?" It was like she was planting little seeds in Mom's mind, making her doubt me. I was confused. Why would my own sister do this to me? One day, it got worse. I was sitting at the dinner table, talking to Mom about how school had been going. I was excited because I had gotten a good grade on a project. But my sister cut me off and said, "Actually, she's been acting like she doesn't care about school lately. I've noticed she's been spending a lot of time on her phone instead of studying." My heart sank. I hadn't been perfect, but I didn't deserve to be treated like I was doing something wrong. Mom turned to me, her face a little confused. "Is that true?" she asked. I was taken aback. How could she ask me like that? I tried to explain that I hadn't been on my phone that much, that I had just been tired, but it was clear Mom was already starting to believe my sister's version of things. She didn't question her. She didn't ask for the truth from me. She just nodded, a little disappointed. It felt like a punch to the gut. My own sister, someone I had always trusted, was making me look like a liar, like a troublemaker. And my mom? She was starting to see me differently. I could tell by the way she looked at me, the way she spoke to me. It wasn't the same. It was like the connection we had, the bond we shared, was slowly slipping away. Every time I tried to talk to Mom about it, she brushed it off. "I'm just concerned about you," she'd say. But I could tell there was something more. My sister's words were starting to take root in her mind. It was like everything I did, no matter how small, was being questioned. And no matter how hard I tried to prove myself, my sister always had a way of twisting things, making me look worse than I really was. The worst part? I started feeling like I was losing my place in the family. I wasn't just the kid who had done something wrong, I was the problem. My sister would smile and act so sweet in front of Mom, pretending like nothing was wrong. But behind closed doors, she was the one pushing all the buttons, making sure I was the one who looked bad. It hurt so much, more than I can explain. I felt like my whole world had been turned upside down. I had trusted my sister with everything, and now she was using that trust against me. I tried to talk to her about it, to ask her why she was doing this, but she just shrugged it off. "I'm just trying to help Mom see the truth," she would say. But it wasn't the truth. It was a lie, and it was tearing me apart. There were nights when I would lie in bed, thinking about all the things my sister had said and done. I couldn't believe it was happening. I couldn't understand how she could turn on me like that. It felt like a betrayal, and the pain was real. Every time I looked at her, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was seeing a stranger. My sister, the person I had always thought would have my back, was now the one making me feel like I didn't belong, and the worst part of it all? Mom was starting to see it too. The hurt in her eyes when she looked at me, the way she started treating me differently, all of it was because of my sister's manipulation. I wanted to scream, to tell her the truth, but every time I tried, it felt like my words would just fall on deaf ears. At that moment, I felt alone. I felt like no one could see what was really happening. I wanted to fix everything, but it seemed like the damage was already done. My sister had won, and I was left fighting a battle I wasn't even sure I could win. The fallout, life after the betrayal, everything changed. The first few days felt like a nightmare. I couldn't believe what had happened. I kept trying to talk to Mom to make her see that I wasn't the person my sister was making me out to be. But every time I tried, she would look at me like she wasn't sure who I was anymore. It felt like there was a wall between us, a wall that my sister had built with her lies. I remember one day when I was sitting in the living room trying to explain everything to Mom. I told her how my sister had been twisting things and making me look bad. I begged her to listen, to see the truth. But instead of listening, Mom just shook her head. "I'm just worried about you," she said, as if I were the problem. "You need to focus on what's really important." I felt like my heart was breaking. I wasn't the one who had changed. It was my sister who had turned everything upside down. That it felt like no matter how much I tried, I couldn't reach her. Mom would talk to me, but it was different now. She wasn't the same warm, understanding person I used to know. It was like she was cold, distant, and I wasn't sure how to fix it. The worst part was that my sister was always there, acting like the perfect child in front of Mom, pretending like everything was fine. It was like she was winning and I was losing. The family started to feel different. It wasn't the same anymore. At the dinner table, Mom and my sister would laugh and talk while I sat there, feeling invisible. I wasn't part of the conversation anymore. I wasn't part of the family. Felt like I was on the outside looking in. I missed the way things used to be, the way we used to talk and share everything. But now, it was like I was no longer welcome. I couldn't help but feel angry. I had always done my best to be a good daughter, to help out, and to be there for my family. But now, I felt like I was being punished for something I didn't even do. I had trusted my sister with everything, and now she was making me feel like I didn't belong in my own family. I started resenting her. It wasn't just the things she'd said or done. It was the way she'd turned everyone against me. It was the way she made it look like I was the problem. I hated that she could make everyone believe her lies. Every time I looked at her, I felt anger building inside me. She had taken everything from me. My trust, my place in the family, my relationship with Mom. I couldn't stop thinking about how things had changed. I had always been the one who could make things better, who could fix things when they went wrong. But now I couldn't fix anything. Felt like I had lost everything I cared about. It felt like my sister had taken everything away from me, and there was nothing I could do about it. But deep down, I knew I couldn't let this go on forever. I couldn't keep living in this painful silence, watching my sister tear my family apart. I had to do something. I didn't know what yet, but I knew something had to change. The resentment inside me started to build, not just against my sister but also against myself for letting things get this far. It wasn't just about my sister anymore. It was about me, my family, and the truth. I was ready to fight for what was mine. I was ready to show everyone the truth, no matter what it took. I couldn't let my sister get away with what she had done, and I wasn't going to let her turn me into the villain any longer. Reflection. As time passed, I started to think more about everything that had happened. First, it was hard to see clearly. I was too angry, too hurt, to really understand what was going on. But slowly, little by little, I began to realize something. The way my sister had treated me wasn't just a one-time thing. It wasn't just about this one incident. It was a pattern. She had always found ways to twist things and make me look bad, and I never saw it before. I had trusted her so much that I didn't notice the way she was manipulating situations. But now, everything has become clear. I thought back to all the little moments, all the things she had done before. There were times when she would pretend to be the perfect child, always saying the right things in front of Mom. But when it was just us, she would act completely different. She would say things that made me feel small, like I wasn't enough. And every time I would try to stand up for myself, she would twist my words and make me look like the bad one. I had always wanted to believe the best in my sister. I didn't want to see that she could be manipulative, that she could hurt me on purpose. But now, I realized it wasn't a mistake or an accident. It was part of a pattern. She had been doing this for a long time. It wasn't just about making me look bad to Mom. It was about controlling the situation, making sure she stayed the favorite one, the one who could do no wrong. And I had fallen for it every time that I felt a mix of emotions. Anger, sadness, but also a strange sense of relief. For the first time, I could see things clearly. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the problem. It was my sister who had been manipulating me all along. And I wasn't going to let her keep doing it. I started to understand something important. I couldn't keep letting her control my life. I had let her take away my place in the family, my relationship with Mom, all because I had trusted her blindly. But now I knew I had to stop that. I had to take control of my own story. It wasn't just about fixing things with Mom anymore. It wasn't just about proving my sister wrong. It was about me finding my own voice again. I had spent so long being quiet, letting my sister speak for me, letting her twist things around. But no more. I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. It hurt to think about how much she had taken from me, how much she had changed everything between us. But I also knew that I couldn't let that pain control me. I had to rise above it. I couldn't change the past, but I could decide what to do next. I could decide how the story ended. That's when I realized that I wasn't just fighting to prove myself to my mom or to my sister. I was fighting for my own peace of mind. I was fighting for the chance to finally be seen for who I really was. Someone who had been hurt, but who was also strong enough to stand up for themselves. I was tired of being the one who was misunderstood, the one who was always in the wrong. I was ready to take back control of my life. I wasn't going to let my sister's manipulation continue. It was time to take action. The plan? Preparing for the confrontation after everything that had happened. I knew I couldn't just sit back and let my sister keep turning things against me. I had to do something, but I also knew I couldn't act without a plan. I needed to think carefully about what I was going to do next. I needed to figure out how to show my mom the truth without making things worse. First, I started thinking about the evidence. I had to find something that would prove my sister had been lying. She had twisted everything, but now it was time to show the truth. I thought about all the little things she had said and done. I remembered the conversations we had, the things she had said when no one else was around. I knew if I could remember those moments and put them together, I might have something strong enough to show my mom. But it wasn't just about showing her the truth. It was about making her see that I hadn't been the villain all along. I also knew I needed support. I couldn't fight this battle alone. I needed someone who could help me see the bigger picture and maybe even stand by me when the time came. I thought about my friends, and I realized that I hadn't really talked to them about what was going on. Maybe they would understand. They knew me well and could see the way I had been treated. Maybe they could help me convince my mom that I wasn't the one who had done anything wrong. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that what I needed most was the truth. I needed my mom to hear it from me, and I needed her to understand. It wasn't going to be easy, but I couldn't let my sister keep controlling the story. I had to tell her what had really happened and show her that the person she thought I was wasn't the truth. The stakes were high. This wasn't just about clearing my name. It was about getting my mother's trust back. I had lost her trust, and I needed to earn it back. It wasn't going to be easy, and I knew that confronting my sister might make things worse before they got better. But I had to do it. I couldn't keep living with this lie, with my sister making me out to be the bad one. So I started to prepare myself mentally and emotionally. I knew that the confrontation was coming, and I had to be ready for it. I practiced what I was going to say in my head over and over again. I imagined the moment when I would finally tell my mom everything. It was going to be hard, but I couldn't let fear stop me. I had to be strong for myself and for the truth. I also had to prepare for how my sister might react. She wasn't going to take this well. I knew she would try to deny everything and turn things around. She was good at manipulating people, and I had to be ready for that. But I couldn't let her intimidate me anymore. This time, I was going to speak up and let the truth speak for itself. I could feel the weight of the moment. I knew that after this, nothing would ever be the same. But I also knew that if I didn't take action, nothing would ever change. I had to do this, no matter how difficult it was. The emotional buildup, I had been waiting for this moment for what felt like forever. My heart was racing, and my mind was full of questions. How was this going to go? Was my sister going to deny everything? Would my mom believe me? Or would she still side with my sister? The closer I got to the confrontation, the more nervous I felt. But I also felt determined. I couldn't keep letting my sister control the story. I had to stand up for myself. As I walked towards the room where my sister and mom were, my thoughts raced. What was I going to say first? How would I start? I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. This was it. I had to get the truth out, no matter what happened. When I finally sat down with them, my sister immediately noticed something was different. She could probably feel the tension in the air. I looked at her, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could speak my truth. I didn't let the fear take over. I need to talk to you both about something, I said, my voice shaking but firm. Mom, you've been hearing my sister's side of the story for so long. But now it's time you hear mine. My sister's face immediately changed. She looked worried, and I could tell she was trying to figure out how to cover up the truth. What are you talking about? She asked, her voice sounding a little too calm. I'm talking about everything you've done. The lies, the things you've twisted to make me look bad. The way you've made Mom think I'm the one who's always in the wrong. For a moment, my sister didn't say anything. Her eyes widened, but then she quickly shook her head. You're just jealous because I'm closer to Mom than you are, she said, trying to make it sound like I was just being dramatic. This is just how you've always been, trying to make me the villain when you're the one who's selfish. That's when I couldn't stay quiet anymore. All the hurt and frustration I had been holding in for so long came rushing out. You've always known how to make yourself look good and me look bad. You've been doing it for years. And you've turned Mom against me. She thinks I'm the bad one and you're the perfect daughter. My sister didn't know how to respond at first. She tried to act like she wasn't affected, but I could see the cracks in her mask. That's not true, she shouted, but her voice was shaking now too. You're just trying to make me look bad because you're mad. But I wasn't backing down this time. I'm not mad. I'm telling the truth. You've twisted everything and you've made me out to be someone I'm not. It's time for Mom to know the truth. Mother's reaction. My mom was sitting there, quiet for a long time, listening to us. I could see the confusion on her face, but I didn't know what she was thinking. She looked from me to my sister and back again, trying to process everything. Is this true? Mom asked, her voice soft. She looked at me, then at my sister. I could see the hurt in her eyes. She was starting to understand that things weren't what they seemed. My heart ached as I looked at her. Yes, Mom. I've never wanted to hurt you. I've always tried to do what was right. But she's been manipulating you. She's been making you think I'm the one causing trouble when I'm not. For a moment, my mom didn't say anything. Her face was a mix of sadness, confusion, and disbelief. She looked at my sister and then back at me as if she didn't know what to believe. I don't know what to think, Mom said quietly. I love both of you. But I've been listening to your sister and I never thought. Her voice trailed off as she fought to process everything. I felt a wave of emotion crash over me. I wanted so much for my mom to understand. I wanted her to believe me, but I also knew it wasn't going to be easy for her. She had spent so much time trusting my sister, and now I had to change her mind. The silence in the room felt like it lasted forever. My sister, looking hurt and angry, crossed her arms and glared at me. You're just mad because I've always been the good one. You've always been jealous. But I didn't let her words hurt me this time. I knew the truth and I wasn't going to let her make me feel small anymore. I turned to my mom, hoping she could see the pain in my eyes, hoping she could feel how hard this was for me. The tension in the room was thick and I could feel my heart pounding. My sister was still trying to play the victim, but I knew I had done everything I could to show the truth. It wasn't easy, but I was done being the villain in the story. Mom finally spoke again. I don't know what to think right now. This is all so confusing. I could tell she was struggling. She didn't know who to trust or who to believe. I felt a pit in my stomach, but I knew that I couldn't back down. This was the moment when everything would change. I wasn't going to let my sister keep twisting the truth. I had expected a bigger argument. I had thought there would be shouting or crying, but instead there was a heavy silence. My mom looked between us, trying to figure out what was real and what wasn't. In the days that followed, things were tense. My mom didn't immediately side with me, but she started to see things differently. It wasn't easy for her, and it wasn't easy for me either. But the trust we once had was broken, and it was going to take time to rebuild it. The family dynamic was changing. The bond between me and my sister was gone, and it seemed like we were both on different sides now. The tension was thick in the air, and no one knew where things would go from here. After the confrontation, things didn't get better right away. In fact, everything felt even more difficult than before. My heart was heavy, and I felt tired all the time. My mom was still confused and unsure of what to believe. She wasn't sure how to fix the situation, and neither was I. We both had so much to process. For a few days, we didn't talk much. There was this awkward silence between me and my mom. She would look at me sometimes, but I could tell she was still trying to figure things out in her mind. It was painful to see that she wasn't sure if she could trust me fully again. I felt like I was in a fog, unsure of where I stood in the family anymore. I wanted to fix things, but I knew that trust takes time. I couldn't expect everything to go back to normal overnight. My mom and I were both hurting, but in different ways. Rebuilding trust, I knew I had to prove myself to my mom. I couldn't just expect her to believe me without showing her that I was telling the truth. I started being extra careful with my actions. I made sure to be kind and patient with her, even when I was frustrated. I had to show her that I was still the person she trusted before, but it wasn't easy. My mom would ask questions, and sometimes it felt like she was still unsure. I couldn't blame her. She had spent so much time believing my sister. It was hard for her to suddenly change her mind. So I tried to stay calm and answer her questions honestly, even though it hurt. It took weeks, but little by little, my mom started to see that I was still the person I had always been. Slowly, she began to trust me again. It wasn't perfect, but the bond between us started to heal. I could feel her opening up again, and that made me feel a little better. My sister didn't take the confrontation well at all. After everything came out, she didn't show any signs of regret. Instead of feeling sorry for what she had done, she got even angrier. She tried to act like nothing had changed, but I could tell she was hurt. Not because she felt guilty, but because she had been exposed. She started telling people that I was lying, trying to twist the story so it seemed like I was the one who started all the problems. But I wasn't scared anymore. I knew what the truth was, and no matter what she said, I wasn't going to back down. It was strange. She didn't try to apologize. Instead, she just acted like the situation was everyone else's fault, not hers. She still wanted to be the victim even after everything had been revealed. I realized that she would never admit what she did. I had hoped that maybe, just maybe, she would regret what she had done, but she didn't. The healing process was slow for both me and my mom. At first, it seemed like everything was falling apart. But as time went on, I started to realize that it wasn't about fixing everything overnight. Healing takes time. It's not something that can be rushed. My mom and I started to talk more, and it felt like we were starting to get back to normal. But it wasn't the same as before. The trust wasn't fully there yet, and I could tell that it would take more time for her to truly believe that I wasn't the one causing all the problems. It was frustrating, but I had to be patient. I knew that healing didn't happen quickly, and I had to let it happen naturally. I worked on rebuilding my own confidence too. I knew I had been through a lot, and I needed to remind myself that I was strong. Every day was a little better. There were moments when I thought everything was going to fall apart again, but then I'd see my mom smile at me or hear her say something kind, and I knew we were moving forward. Resolution. What happens next? Looking back at everything that happened, I can't believe how much has changed. It feels like a lifetime ago when I first trusted my sister with everything. I never imagined she would turn on me the way she did. But now, as I sit here and think about it all, I see that I've learned a lot. I've learned that trust is one of the most precious things we have, and once it's broken, it's really hard to fix. I've come a long way since the betrayal. I remember feeling so lost and confused when it first happened, not knowing what to do or who to turn to. I felt like I was all alone. But over time, I began to rebuild my relationship with my mom. We're not completely back to where we were before the betrayal, but we're getting there. I feel like we're both learning to trust each other again, and that's a big step. So, what happens now? Will my family ever be the same again? That's a question I don't have the answer to yet. The wounds from the betrayal are still fresh, and I can't say everything will be perfect right away. But I do believe there's hope for us to heal. We're both trying. My mom and I are taking small steps toward rebuilding our trust. It won't be easy, but I'm hopeful that we can move forward together. As for my sister, I'm not sure what will happen to her. I don't think she's ready to admit what she did, and I don't expect her to change overnight. I'm learning that I can't control her actions, but I can control how I react to them. If she wants to keep lying, that's on her. I'm not going to let her mistakes hold me back. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that trust is something you have to protect. Betrayal can hurt more than anything else, but it's also a chance to grow stronger. It's not about what others do to you, it's about how you handle it. I may have been hurt, but I'm not a victim. I'm someone who has the power to rebuild, heal, and move forward. In the end, trust can be rebuilt, but only if you believe in yourself enough to take that first step. Looking back on everything that happened, I feel like I've learned so much. The journey wasn't easy, but I grew stronger because of it. I've learned that family can be complicated and trust is so important. When it's broken, it hurts. But the most important thing is how you choose to move forward. I've taken my power back, and that's something I'll carry with me forever. If you've ever gone through something like this, I want to hear from you. Have you ever trusted someone who let you down? Or maybe you've had to fight to get someone's trust back. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories and lessons. Remember, no matter what happens, you have the strength to rise again. Sometimes life can knock you down, but how you get back up is what really matters. Trust is important, but your self-worth is even more important. Keep believing in yourself.